This Saturday, Donald Trump has imposed 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico and 10% tariffs on China. That will come to force this coming Tuesday on February 4, and Trump has already indicated that the European Union may be next. That's why the dreaded phrase trade war is now all over the news. In this video, I'll unpack the economic reasoning behind Trump's tariffs and answer the most important question: who will pay for all this? First, some important context. Tariffs are taxes imposed by a government on goods and services imported from other countries. They are primarily used to protect domestic industries from foreign competition by making imported goods more expensive, thus encouraging consumers to buy local products. There is no normal level of tariffs, but generally they range within single digits, rarely going above 5%, and they are generally aimed at specific industries. So Trump's tariffs of 25% on Mexico and Canada is not business as usual on the global trade arena. It is a very drastic move with the drama and flair that people have now come to expect from Trump. While the levy on Canadian energy imports, including crude oil, has been set at a lower rate of 10%, if you consider that Canada accounts for about 60% of US oil imports, it still gives many people a very bad case of heebie-jeebies. By now, the US president stated numerous reasons for his new tariffs, but they can be summarized in two main categories: economy and leverage. While there are many things to explore in regards to the validity of tariffs as a tool for gaining geopolitical leverage, here we'll focus on reviewing the economic motives. Numerous times Trump said that tariffs is part of his pledge to put America's interests first by prioritizing its industries over foreign competition. And at a first glance, this may seem like a great thing for Americans, right? Well, no, not really. There are many complex details here, and as usual, devil hides in those details. American businesses that rely on imported goods from Canada, Mexico, China, and potentially the EU will face higher costs due to the tariffs. For instance, industries such as automotive manufacturing, agriculture, and just many general consumer goods could see substantial increase in costs. This would force businesses to either absorb the costs, reducing their profit margins, or pass them on to consumers, leading to higher prices. And of course, while drill baby drill is a catchy phrase, it disregards the many intricacies of the global oil market if you slap such high tariffs on your two top crude importers. Just to name the most obvious ones, what are you going to replace this oil with and at which price? So Americans may quickly feel the impact at gas stations, grocery stores, car dealerships, or even when ordering a new pair of slippers or cowboy boots online. Guess where the US gets most of its avocados, for example? Mexico. Worth considering for those who like their guacamole cheap. The other economic reason that the US president often mentioned is reducing trade deficit. This refers to the concept of trade balance, which is the difference between a country's exports and imports of goods over a certain period of time. When the value of exports exceeds the value of imports, the country is in trade surplus. Conversely, if imports are greater than exports, the country has a trade deficit. This indicates that the country is buying more from foreign markets than it is selling abroad. Again, if you do not dig into it, reducing trade deficit may sound like all around a great thing, as it is a sign of a competitive economy where domestic products are in demand internationally. It also increases foreign exchange reserves, may create jobs in export-oriented industries, and allow reinvestment in domestic businesses and infrastructure. To top it all off, dollar may strengthen as importers have to buy dollars to pay for American exports, therefore increasing the demand for this currency. So, in theory, an average American working in one of US exports industries should become richer, prouder, and be able to afford more champagne and baguettes for his dollars while enjoying, say, a holiday in Paris. There is a flip side to that lovely picture though. A trade surplus, when achieved artificially through protectionist policies rather than competitive advantage, may lead to inefficient use of resources where industries are propped up by government intervention rather than the market demand. Then an influx of foreign currency can lead to inflation if the money supply grows faster than the economy's capacity to absorb it. Also, an economy overly dependent on export markets can be quite vulnerable to global economic downturns, trade disputes, or changes in consumer preferences abroad. And while a stronger currency can be beneficial, it also makes exports less competitive, which may eventually reduce the surplus if not balanced with productivity gains. And last, but certainly not least, is that persistent large surpluses can lead to trade tensions with deficit countries who may view the surplus as a form of economic manipulation, leading to retaliatory tariffs or other trade barriers. And when it comes to retaliation, US won't have to wait long. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau imposed 25% tariffs on 155 billion of Canadian dollars worth of American goods, with 30 billion coming into force on Tuesday and another 125 billion in 21 days. Canadian tariffs will target American beer, wine, bourbon, fruit juices, vegetables, perfumes, clothing and shoes, household appliances, sporting goods and furniture, and potentially some other things. And Mexico and China won't be far behind with their response. And just think about how much economic power China has. And if Trump indeed makes good on his promise to go after the EU next, the impact on American businesses and jobs across numerous industries, both on the exports and imports sides of the equation, will be even more pronounced. Americans who applaud Trump for flexing America's economic muscle and cheering him on as he starts a trade war should first try to step back from this compelling us against the world rhetoric, dust off their critical thinker hat, put it on, and consider if it is really in their interests. They should remember that a trade war, just like a military war, is a political tool used in times when diplomacy fails. It is an attempt to gain leverage in advance of aggressive negotiations. And in case of Trump, it is also a populist move that serves to support his image as a tough man and negotiator in the adoring eyes of his supporters. And make no mistake, this war will also have its own casualties and collateral damage. While Trump's tariffs may achieve some short-term gains, such as protecting certain industries and providing leverage in trade negotiations, the long-term impact is likely to be largely negative. They will increase costs for US consumers and businesses, they will disrupt global supply chains, and strain diplomatic relations to boot. The costs of Trump's tariffs will be ultimately borne by ordinary Americans, from consumers paying higher prices to taxpayers funding subsidies for affected industries. And it may increase the gulf between the US and its allies in the already divided, unstable world, and therefore political and diplomatic gains are quite questionable. So is the phantom prize of the trade war worth its very real costs? You decide. Thank you for your time. I would love to see your opinions on the topic that we tackled today in the comments below, and let me know what other important questions I should try to answer next. Thank you for watching.